All right, guys. So as promised, I'm doing this other video follow-up. I just did a video about, watching what you say, the power of conversation, the power of words, right? And guys, I want to continue a little bit more about that in conversations. I'm always talking about relationships. I talk about that all the time. A lot of times we say, what's the harm in just talking to somebody? What's the harm in just having a conversation? I'm not sleeping with this person. I'm not really there with this person. I'm far away from this individual. What is wrong with just having a little bit of conversation? I'm going to share with you the scriptures that I shared in my last video. Conversation comes with responsibility. Conversations, depend on the type that you have, will consequences. And conversations put things into motion, whether you are mobile at that time or not. It's bringing things into motion, and you simply walk into the path that you have already put the footprints and the things that you already set in place by your mouth and your conversation. The first conversation, or the first words that were spoken, was in the beginning when God created the heavens and the earth. A spoken word. He created us in his likeness and image. So spoken word bring forth life. We have to also realize that we are spirit. We're spirit infused in this body that we walk around in, but within we are spirit, and we have no need of this body. If anything, this body it's here for a certain purpose, for use and a purpose. But when you're outside of your body, your senses, you become truly who you are meant to be. But of course, when you die, when you're supposed to die, not you making yourself die ahead of time, okay? The second conversation was with Eve in the garden with the serpent. And you saw what happened with that. There are other conversations that has happened. Samson and Delilah, the conversation of his strength. I'm going to also go to Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife and Joseph. Joseph worked for Potiphar, and his wife wanted to slay with him. And there was that conversation. There's a conversation where that caused John the Baptist to lose his head. There was, I believe it was Herodias. She was angry with John the Baptist for preaching against her marrying whoever, right? Herod. I may have the stories mixed up or the names mixed up. But there was a conversation, right? The words of the king's mouth to the young lady that danced for him said, anything you want, anything. She goes to her aunt. I believe the aunt's name is Herodias. If it's not, then, just see for yourself. And she says, ask for John the Baptist's head on a platter. And John the Baptist lost his head. The king was grieved, but he had already spoken. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is this. Every conversation means something. It's never harmless. The word of God says here in Psalm 21 and 23, those who guard their mouths and tongues keep themselves from calamity. Psalm 141 and 3 says, set a guard over my mouth, keep a watch over the door of my lips. And then here in Matthew chapter 12:36 says, but I say to you that every idle word men may speak, they will give account of it in the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. Every word you and I speak, every conversation we have, every conversation that you have, Jesus is there. There's an unseen audience that is privy to every last one of your conversations. You see, your husband and your wife that you're with right now, any relationship that you've had, it starts with a conversation. The conversation starts simply with hi or hello, right? And then you conversate more and you realize, hey, this person and I, we click. You become good friends, right? Truly, just good friends. I have friends right now that I've known since I was young growing up. And hey, we're good friends. Our conversation, though, created our friendship. It's the same thing. When you're having conversation that you should not be having with someone that you should not be having it with, what you're doing is, it's not harmless. You may say, oh, I'm just here. Your conversation is setting something into motion that you have not yet walked into yet. You understand that? People that end up having affairs, they met the person at work or they known that person, but they start to have conversations. And by your conversations, you start to connect. And your spiritual connection is what makes you want to meet physically, simply to seal the deal and to become one flesh. There is harm in conversation. There is harm in conversations that are done in secret, conversations that has content that perhaps you would not want your wife or your husband or your significant other to hear. Conversation that it's really you and that person and maybe someone else who's an accomplice to it. But you don't want to shine a light on it. Your conversation sets in motion your destination. When a man and a woman are conversating all the time together, what is happening? Because we're spirit are not hindered by the body. So you connect spiritually by, even in friends, you connect spiritually. You realize you're compatible. You want more and more of one another. But see, you've already connected by words. See, you don't connect physically first. That doesn't happen because you'd be like, ugh. How you connect with that person and you desire to be close to them, or you want to leave your spouse for them, or you just want to cheat, is because you've connected yourself spiritually. And all that's happening is you talk and you say and you put things out in the air. And all that happens is the stage is set. The path has been set. You understand? The preformed paths and routes you're going to take. And what's going to happen is you want more of one another, because spiritually, what they call soul ties and bonds has been formed by the words of your mouth. And now you desire one another. And that is why you get crazy. That's why you're willing to risk your marriage to go here, because your soul is, you're tied to that person by conversation. That's why you do the ultimate thing. You make up lies. You make up things. You have your heart beats when you're thinking about going to meet this person to do stuff with them. Because guess what? You're connected spiritually with that person. They call it emotionally. It's the same thing, right? So this is what I'm telling you. Many friends have had affairs with their friends. They did not mean to, but it happened and they didn't want to stop. Why? Because they were having the conversations without responsibility. They were having irresponsible conversations. They thought, this is just my friend. This is just, I would never. But you're connecting and you're talking to that person all the time, several times, and you're sharing more and more things, deeper and deeper. And that is your spirit come together. Before you know it, you're thinking about him before you're thinking about your wife or your significant other. Before you're thinking about your husband or your significant others. You're thinking about her before you're thinking about your wife or your significant other. Because right here, you're connected. When you see their message comes up, you brings a smile to your face, or your heart skips a beat because they're in your spirit. So you must be responsible in your conversations, even in every innocent conversation. You can really just have a friend that you're talking to and you're giving advice, but you must, especially if you have a significant other, a wife, you need to make sure that she knows about this and she's a part of it. You don't have any more, I'm trying to tell you, you do not have any more, you cannot advise a woman better than your wife. You cannot advise a man better than your husband can. So you need to bring them in on it. Everyone needs to be there. And then you still need to have discretion. You can't be the person that they're always coming to. You understand? You have to use wisdom in your conversation, wisdom in your frequency, wisdom in the content, and discernment and understanding to know, wait a minute, no. Sometimes you're going to have to be Joseph. And guess what? Even though you are comfortable in Potiphar's house, as he was comfortable in Potiphar's house. He was doing a lot. He knew the boundaries and he kept them and he did not allow it. He had to have seen Potiphar's wife several times before, but you know what? That conversation was off limits. You have to be able to do that. You have to realize, guys, that certain things you cannot share. Just like when Samson was laying on Delilah, certain things should not happen. You understand? Certain things, ladies, you should not be talking to a man, learning the secrets, the strengths of that man, as Delilah did, getting the strengths and the secrets out of that man that is not yours. Because guess what you're doing spiritually is, as he's telling you his heart and telling you the things that he should be telling his spouse, telling his wife, you see, you're doing the same thing that Delilah did. And I know you don't realize this. You're doing exactly what Delilah did. Once she found his strength, then the men were able to come upon him and take him. Once that man utters his heart and continues to tell you things that he should not be telling you, you open him up to be bound spiritually. I hope this makes sense. I have this conversation all the time. Where is it coming from, Arlene? Are you upset? Are you hurt? Is this coming from pain? No. What is coming from is discovery. It comes from mistakes that I have made in my past. And when God sat me down and God taught me, and when God teaches me, we gotta share. And the reason why I believe it's coming up so much is because it's happening. It's happening. And a lot of people are bound, and a lot of people are buying the wolf tickets. A lot of people are taking that ketchup popsicle with white gloves. You're eating that ketchup popsicle with white gloves on because the enemy has told you that this is okay, that there's nothing wrong with this. But I want to tell you, everything you do, every idle word, every conversation, everything that you have with this person is going to bring you into bondage. They have to bind you, the strong man, so they can get into your house. Ladies, they will use you to bind the strong man of that house so the enemy could get into that house. And then you get the repercussions of you having done those things. Guys, even as single people, we are responsible for the conversations that we have with one another, the conversation that we have with a male, a female who is single. We may think, oh, we're good. We don't have anyone to be responsible for. Oh, excuse me. Our Heavenly Father is watching us and He's listening to us. So we are responsible for our conversations. So we don't talk each other out of each other's underwears. We don't talk each other into a place, talk each other into a location, talk each other into a hotel reservation, talk each other into stuff that keeps us off the path of destination, keep us off the destination that God has for us. Anything God gives us, it's good. It's going to be pressed down, shaken together, better than you and I can ever imagine. Sex within God's parameters is awesome. Love and relationships following God's ways, it may seem long, it may seem hard, but it's for the best. It's the best thing that we can do. So I tell you also, married folks, be careful. Be careful. The enemy will use everybody, all parties involved, to cancel each other out. But I'm going to close here and just think about what I said. Just remember, you must have every conversation responsibly. Put safeguards into place. And just like David did, just like Joseph did, there are times you're going to have to flee from it. There's no conversating, there's no talking, there's no reasoning. I'm out. That's what he did. He left out of there and he went in such a way that she ended up snatching off his coat. She was trying to get him and he was like, no. You have to be like Jesus. When Satan came to try to tempt him with different things, he had to say, get thee behind me, Satan. What does that equate to? He removed himself from the situation and he did not entertain it. All right, guys, don't forget to like, share, and to subscribe to my channel. I know this video is a lot longer than I expected it to, but I pray that it will reach deep within your heart. Shelve it if it doesn't resonate with you, because maybe later on it will. All right, guys, have a wonderful day.